Hi there, and welcome to this short video introducing the Education Policy Analysis Archive's double special issue, Teachers and Educational Policy, Markets, Populism, and Impossibilities for Resistance. My name is Meghan Stacey, and I'm one of the guest editors of this issue, along with Mihajla Gavin, Jessica Gerrard, Anna Hogan, and Jessica Holloway. As guest editors, we work primarily from the Australian context. In Australia, responsibility seems to be frequently placed on teachers to be better trained, more professional, more accountable, and more standardised. To us, it seems reasonable to state that teachers are the focus of much political and popular consternation. Schooling is a common experience for most populations, but is also a form of complex expertise which is increasingly seen as important for the development and competitive success of the nation-state. These factors, we think, combine to make teaching a rational or even urgent site of public commentary and political control. The papers in this issue explore this positioning across international contexts including Europe, the Asia-Pacific, and the United States. We have divided the papers in the issue into two instalments. The first, focusing on how teachers and teaching are seen as being shaped and reshaped by forces largely external to the profession. The second, looking at how teachers variously comply with and/or resist such forces, and the possibilities for activism under such conditions. There are three themes in instalment 1. The first is populism and truth, in particular looking at notions of evidence when it comes to teachers' work and education policy. The two papers here, from Meghan and Lubinsky and Westcott, reckon with contested policy framings surrounding how to know educational practice. The second theme is the ongoing effects of colonialism on teachers and teaching. The two papers here from Hogan et al. And Burgess and Lowe highlight that when local communities and schools are left out of standardised top-down reform efforts, it is almost inevitable that local knowledges, perspectives, and vernaculars will be left out of the final policy plans. We see these papers as contributing a critical perspective regarding tensions between the local and global relations that are central to conceptualising populist moves and trends. The third and final theme of instalment 1 is privatisation and private actors. Both papers in this theme explore the work of Teach for All, specifically Teach for America from Anderson et al. And Teach for New Zealand from Ramsey et al. These papers question the influence of private actors, the expertise they bring to education, and how teachers might reclaim their agency within an increasing environment of privatisation in schooling. Instalment 2 begins with one overarching paper from Pasarisa et al., who provide a literature review of performance-based accountability and its impacts on teachers' work. We then move to the first of our three themes. The first theme explores teachers' experiences of constraint within the policy environments in which they work. In Garver's ethnographic study of a racially and economically stratified school in an urban US district, teachers are held individually responsible for the performance of their students, in a move termed, drawing on participant data, personalising the gaps. Deliri Ngamatua and Hardy explore a similarly questionable and reductive use of data in the Australian state of Queensland. These data, they argue, shape the possibilities of teachers' work and displace a teacher-led understanding of holistic student learning. In the second theme of instalment 2, papers start to take a slightly more hopeful perspective, looking at the constrained choices teachers make when navigating neoliberalised settings. Skerritt's paper poses the question of whether accountability, as conceptualised in the contemporary moment, achieves what democratic societies need or what democratic citizens want. Meanwhile, in Castro et al.'s paper, teachers in the US are actively choosing schools they want to work in, for example, choosing between charter schools or traditional public schools. These options, Castro et al. Argue, force but also enable teachers to make decisions about their working conditions, responsibilities, and expectations. Our final theme for instalment 2 and for the issue is dissent and activism. These papers, from Duarte and Brewer, Kurtz and White, and Acuna, attempt to advance a way forward for challenging some of the pressures outlined in the earlier themes, including through new forms of unionism and collective organisation. The papers in our special issue come from around the globe. The journal in which the issue has been published is based at Arizona State University, meaning that the inclusion of studies from places like Australia, New Zealand, and the Pacific Islands may make somewhat unfamiliar reading for many subscribers. This was actually intentional. In Australia, education policy is often developed and analysed in reference to what Lingard has termed our common reference societies of the US and the UK. As researchers and authors, we are routinely asked to make our work relevant by situating it in relation to such dominant international reform contexts. But what would happen if this demand was reversed? Possibly, what is needed is to reimagine teachers and schooling in ways that are less limited by the systems and structures that have led us to this point. And we hope that our special issue has contributed to doing some of this work. Thank you.